The first thing I saw when I dragged my suitcase back into my apartment was the recycling bin by the door, and inside it was an empty wine bottle with my handwriting on the tag, and I just stood there silent, stomach dropping, like my body knew the truth before my brain could catch up. My name is Colette. I am 26, and I work as a paralegal at a mid-sized firm downtown, the kind of job where you learn to stay calm even when someone is smiling in your face while quietly setting you on fire. It was supposed to be a simple weekend. My friend Rhodes is 27. We have the kind of friendship that looks effortless on the outside, group dinners, memes in the group chat, the occasional I got you when life gets messy. When I got invited to a last-minute work retreat, I asked him to house sit and check on my cat, Luna, feed her, scoop the litter, keep the place from feeling empty. He texted back fast, no problem, easy money. And because I trusted him, because he had always acted like the safe choice, I sent him my spare key. Before I left, I did what I always do. I walked him through the basics, the litter bags under the sink, the treats on the second shelf, the thermostat that has a mind of its own. Then I opened the fridge and said, help yourself to whatever. Make it homey. I meant leftovers, eggs, coffee, maybe the fancy chocolate I hide behind the baking soda. I did not mean the one bottle I had been saving for months. That bottle sat in a little wooden rack on the top shelf of my kitchen cabinet, behind an ugly blender I never used. It was a vintage Barolo I bought after my first big win at work, the kind of purchase that felt reckless and proud at the same time. I had been saving it for my promotion, not just the title, but the moment. I wanted to open it on a night when I could exhale and tell myself, you did it. You made it through. I didn't tell Rhodes that, though. I didn't want to be precious. I didn't want to sound like I was guarding treasure. I assumed the bottle was safe because who opens? Someone else's special wine. Without asking? Apparently Rhodes. I got home Sunday night exhausted, smelling like hotel soap and stress. Luna ran to me like I had been gone for a year, weaving around my ankles, yelling at me in that dramatic way she has. I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and went to the kitchen for water. That is when I saw the cork. It was on the counter like a trophy. A little red stain had bled into the paper towel beneath it. I stared at it for a full second, trying to make it belong to some other bottle. Something cheap. Something replaceable. Then I saw the empty bottle in the recycling bin. My tag was still wrapped around the neck. My messy little handwriting. The date I bought it. The tiny note to myself saved for the good news. My face got hot, then cold. Rhodes wasn't there. He had left hours earlier. He had even washed the dishes, which almost felt insulting now, like he was dusting the crime scene. I pulled up our text thread with my thumb shaking and typed, hey, quick question. Did you open the Barolo? It showed delivered, then read. A minute passed, 2. Then a reply popped up like it was no big deal. Yeah, I had some wine while I was here. You said help yourself. I stared at that sentence until it started to blur. I could feel my heartbeat behind my eyes. I typed back, that bottle was $120. I was saving it. Why wouldn't you ask? His reply came faster this time. Whoa, you never said it was off limits. It was in the kitchen. I figured it was fair game. Fair game. I sat down at my small kitchen table and pressed my palms flat against the wood, like I could ground myself that way. My first instinct was to defend myself, to explain, to make him understand the obvious social rule that lives in every decent person's head, but the words felt too loud, too emotional. Like if I sent them, he would just call me dramatic and I would end up apologizing for being hurt. So I did what my job has trained me to do. I got quiet. I asked one small question. Did you drink the whole bottle? There was a pause. Then he wrote, yeah, I had a long night. Netflix, you know. I could picture it too clearly. Rhodes on my couch, shoes off like he owns the place, pouring glass after glass, not even thinking about the fact that it wasn't his. Luna probably curled near him, trusting him, while he drained something that meant something to me. I stared at my phone and felt that sharp, embarrassing sting behind my eyes. Not just anger, humiliation, because it was so easy for him, because he didn't even feel guilty enough to pretend. I didn't respond right away. I opened my cabinet and stared at the empty space where the bottle had been, like the shelf itself had been robbed. Then I remembered something else, a little detail that made my chest tighten. Rhodes had texted me on Saturday. Your place is cozy. Then he added, might have someone over. Just a friend. Hope that's cool. At the time I had been in a loud hotel lobby and didn't think much of it. I had replied, sure, just keep it respectful and make sure Luna's okay. Now, standing alone in my kitchen, the cork on my counter, I suddenly wondered who that friend was, and why, in my memory, Rhodes sounded a little too casual about it. I checked the living room. Everything looked normal. The pillows arranged, the throw blanket folded, but on the coffee table was a ring-shaped watermark I didn't recognize, like someone had set down a glass and left it there for hours. On the floor near the couch was a long, dark strand of hair. My hair is light. That hair was not mine. Something in me hardened. I went back to my phone and typed, I'm going to request $80 on Venmo. I'm not trying to fight, but that bottle was not a snack. I hit send. The Venmo request went through. $80. A discount, honestly, because part of me still wanted to be the reasonable one, the good friend, the person who doesn't turn everything into drama. Within 10 minutes, my phone started buzzing. Not from Rhodes directly. From the group chat. It was our usual crew. A mix of friends from college and early jobs. People who think they know you because they've laughed with you at brunch. Rhodes posted first. Just a heads up, Colette is charging me for wine she offered me while I was house sitting. Apparently I'm a criminal now. Then a laughing reaction from someone. Then another message from Rhodes. I literally took care of her cat and cleaned her place. And she wants to nickel and dime me. Wild. Nickel and dime. I stared at the screen and felt my throat go tight. He had done it already. He had set the story. He made me the villain before anyone heard my side. A friend named Greer replied, wait, what wine? Rhodes wrote, some fancy bottle. I didn't even know. She never said. I could feel the pressure building behind my ribs. The old instinct to jump in, defend myself, explain every detail, soften the edges so no one thinks I'm mean, but I knew that game. If I started typing emotionally, it would become about my tone, not what he did. If I wrote a paragraph paragraph, they would skim it and decide it was too much. And Rhodes would sit back, calm, and let me look unstable. So I stayed quiet in the chat. I took a breath. Then I did something else. I opened my security app. I didn't have a dramatic camera system, just a simple doorbell camera because my building has a habit of missing packages. I rarely checked it. Mostly it was there for peace of mind. My thumb hovered over the history tab. I clicked Saturday night, and there he was. Rhodes, smiling, holding my door open, letting someone in. A woman I did not recognize walked past the camera first, laughing, carrying a small bag. Then Rhodes stepped into the frame holding a bottle. Not my empty bottle. A different one. Clear glass, cheap label, the kind of wine you grab at a grocery store when you don't want to spend more than 10 minutes thinking. He paused for half a second like he was posing, and the woman bumped his shoulder playfully, like she belonged there. Then they disappeared into my apartment. My hands went cold again, because suddenly the story had layers. He didn't just drink my wine alone on the couch. He had company. He told me he had someone over, but he didn't say it was a date. He didn't say he planned a cozy night in my home like it was his. And he brought a cheap bottle in with him like a prop. My brain started fitting pieces together in a way that made my stomach twist. That water ring, the strange hair, the fact that my Barolo bottle was empty, but he carried a different bottle inside. Like he wanted it to look casual, like he wanted to pretend they drank something normal. I replayed the clip twice, then paused it right when the cheap bottle label was visible. Screenshot. Then I clicked forward. 1 hour later, the door opened again. Rhodes stepped out alone holding a bag of trash. He looked straight at the camera like he knew it was there and gave it a little nod, like a joke, like a wink. Then he walked down the hall with my trash. That part made my skin crawl, because it wasn't just careless. It was confident. He wasn't afraid of consequences. He assumed I would never check. My phone buzzed again. More group chat messages. Someone wrote, "Colette, is this true? You told him to help himself." Someone else wrote, "Girl, just let it go. It's wine." I stared at those messages and felt something crack quietly inside me. Not loud, not dramatic, just a clean break, because this wasn't only about wine anymore. It was about someone taking something precious, then calling me petty for noticing. It was about him framing me as cheap while he sat in my home playing host in my life. And I could already see the next move if I confronted him directly. He would apologize in a way that blamed me. He would call me intense. He would say I'm making it weird. He would try to get me to drop it so he could keep his image intact. So I didn't accuse him. I asked another small question. Privately, I messaged Rhodes. Just checking. When you said you had someone over, did you open my Barolo with her there? I watched the typing bubbles appear, disappear, then appear again. Finally, he replied, "Why does it matter? You're really doing the most." There it was. No denial. My hands shook, but my mind got strangely calm. The kind of calm that shows up right before you make a decision that changes how you see someone forever. I opened Venmo again and wrote a simple note on the request. Barolo replacement. Then I did something I never do. I waited. I let him think he was winning. Because when people like Rhodes believe you are only capable of feelings, they get sloppy. They talk too much. They brag. They leave evidence behind like footprints in wet cement. My phone buzzed with a private message from a friend in the group, Quinn. "Hey, Rhodes is saying you're being weird about money. Are you okay?" I stared at Quinn's message and felt my eyes sting again. Not from sadness this time, but from anger. Clean, sharp anger. The kind that makes you want to finally stop being the easy friend. I typed back, "I'm okay. I'm just collecting the full story." Then I went back to my security footage and clicked later into the night. The door opened again. Rhodes stepped out, and this time he was holding something small in his hand. He looked down the hallway, then tucked it into his pocket like he didn't want anyone to see. I zoomed in until the image got grainy. It was my spare key, and he wasn't leaving it under the mat. He was taking it with him. Quick real-life pause. When I'm editing these late at night, I get tired, and your comments are what keep me going. Like, subscribe, and tell me your city, state, or country. Alright, now let me take you back. I sat there in my kitchen, the screenshot saved, the key in his pocket, and I realized the wine wasn't the biggest thing he took from my apartment that weekend. I didn't move for a full minute. I just listened to the quiet hum of my fridge and Luna's soft paw steps behind me. My spare key was in Rhodes's pocket. He had taken it like it was nothing, like it was his right. My mouth went dry. I stood up slowly and walked to the little ceramic dish by the door where I always drop my keys. My main set was there, my work keys, my mail key, but the spare slot was empty, a clean circle of dust where it used to sit. I wanted to text him right then. I wanted to type, "Why do you have my key? Give it back." But I could already hear his voice in my head, light and amused, like I was being paranoid, like I was the one who needed to chill. So I did not ask for it. Not yet. I opened my security app again and scrolled through the rest of Saturday night. There were small things that suddenly felt huge. The door opening and closing more times than it should. A delivery driver dropping off food. Rhodes stepping out barefoot at one point, looking around the hallway like he was checking if anyone was watching. Then late, a final clip. The woman left alone. She walked down the hall fixing her hair, holding her heels in her hand. Rhodes didn't walk her out. He didn't say goodbye in the hallway. He didn't even open the door for her that time. He let her slip out like a secret. My stomach turned, not because I cared who he was seeing. I didn't. It was the way he used my home, like a stage, and then tried to paint me as the villain for noticing a missing bottle. I saved the clips. I saved the screenshots. I made a folder and named it something boring. Something that wouldn't look dramatic if anyone ever saw it. Then I looked down at Luna. She was staring up at me like she could feel my heartbeat. I crouched and scratched behind her ears, and she leaned into my hand, purring like nothing in the world was wrong. I whispered, "I'm not going to make a scene. I promise." But my hands were shaking. On Monday morning, I went to work like normal. I put on mascara. I drank coffee. I smiled at coworkers. I answered emails. I listened to my boss talk about deadlines. All the while, my spare key haunted me. At lunch, I stepped outside the building and called my landlord. My voice sounded steady, even to me. I asked about changing locks. I asked about the cost. I asked about timing. She told me it could be done the next day. She told me it would be a fee plus a new set of keys. I said, "Do it." Then I called the building office and asked if they could pull hallway camera footage from the weekend, just as a precaution, because I had a key issue. The woman on the phone asked if I thought someone had copied my key. I paused, then said, I don't know yet. She promised to check. When I hung up, my phone buzzed again. Group chat. Rhodes was still on his little campaign. Some people forget what friendship is, he wrote. I did her a favor and got hit with a bill. A couple people reacted with laughing faces. That part stung more than I wanted to admit, not because I needed their approval, but because it reminded me how easy it is for a smooth liar to control a room. All he had to do was sound casual, and suddenly I was the uptight woman counting pennies. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened Venmo. He hadn't paid the request. He had declined it, and in the note he wrote post-tax. Post-tax. I stared at those two words until I felt calm again. Not calm like I forgave him. Calm like I could see him clearly now. That afternoon, Quinn texted me privately again. Okay, serious question. Are you sure it was that expensive? Rhodes is telling everyone it was like a normal bottle and you're exaggerating. My jaw tightened. I took a photo from my phone. Not the empty bottle, but the receipt. I still had it in my email because I bought it online. The subject line included the wine name, the total cost, the shipping, all of it. I didn't send it. Not yet. Instead, I wrote back to Quinn. I'm sure. And there's more. Quinn replied, more like what? I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered. I could have dumped everything right there. The footage, the key, the date, the fact that he brought someone into my home, but I stopped myself because if I told Quinn everything now, Quinn would go into the group chat trying to defend me, and then it would become a shouting match, with Rhodes playing innocent and me looking like I was scrambling. I didn't want loud. I wanted undeniable. So I wrote, I'll handle it. Just watch how he reacts when I ask him one question. That evening, I invited Rhodes to meet me at a coffee shop near my apartment. Not my place, not his. Neutral ground, somewhere public enough that he'd keep his voice sweet. He showed up late, sunglasses on like he was annoyed at the world. He slid into the chair across from me and sighed dramatically. You look intense, he said, like he was already preparing the storyline. I kept my face calm. I sipped my coffee slowly. Did you take my spare key? I asked. Just that. No emotion. No accusation. One small question. His smile twitched. What? He said, laughing like it was ridiculous. No. I nodded like I believed him. Then I pulled out my phone and turned the screen toward him, showing the paused clip from the hallway. His hand. The key. The pocket. For the first time, Rhodes didn't look smooth. His face went flat, then his eyes narrowed. That's crazy, he said quickly. I was just grabbing trash. Maybe it was my key. I kept my voice soft. You don't have a key to my building. He leaned back, then leaned forward again, like he was deciding which mask to wear. Okay, he said, lowering his voice. Maybe I picked it up by accident. It was sitting there. I didn't even think. I was busy. Accident. I waited a beat, then asked, where is it? He exhaled like I was exhausting. I don't know. Probably in my jacket. I'll look later. Later. Always later. Always just enough delay that you either forget or feel silly for still caring. I smiled a little. No worries. I already changed the locks. That was a lie. The locks were scheduled for the next day. But the way his eyes snapped up told me everything I needed. He wasn't worried about returning my key as a courtesy. He was worried about losing access. His jaw clenched. You changed them? Because of this? I shrugged lightly. I didn't want to risk it. He stared at me like he couldn't believe I had the nerve to protect myself. Then his expression shifted into something wounded. You're seriously acting like I'm some creep, he said, louder now. I watched your cat. I cleaned. I did you a favor. I nodded. And you drank my wine. He rolled his eyes. You told me to help myself. I let the silence stretch between us. I watched him fill it with his own energy, his own confidence. This was what he did. He pressured people until they apologized for having boundaries, so I didn't argue. I asked, why did you bring a different bottle of wine into my apartment that night? His face changed so fast it was almost funny. Confusion, then offense, then that split-second calculation. What are you talking about? He snapped. I saw it on my doorbell camera, I said gently. You were holding a cheap bottle when you walked in with your guest. He blinked hard. Guest? He repeated, like he was testing the word. I tilted my head. The woman you had over. His nostrils flared. His fingers tapped the table. He was unraveling, and he knew it. That's none of your business, he said, voice tight. I smiled again, small and polite. It's my business when it's my home. He stared at me, and I could feel the moment he realized he wasn't dealing with the version of me that would fold. I wasn't crying. I wasn't raising my voice. I wasn't begging him to understand. I was just sitting there calm with proof. His voice dropped. So what, you're spying on me now? I didn't react. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just asking. Why bring in a cheap bottle if you were planning to drink mine? For a second, he looked trapped. Then he did what people like Rhodes always do when the truth corners them. He attacked my character. You are actually unreal, he said, shaking his head. This is why you're single, Colette. You take everything and turn it into a courtroom. That line hit like a slap. Not because it was true, but because it was designed to sting. Designed to pull me into emotion. To make me defend myself. To make me lose the calm. My fingers tightened around my cup. I forced my voice to stay even. Give me the key, Rhodes. He leaned back, scoffing. I said I'll look. I nodded once. Okay, then I'll send the footage to the building office. They already asked if I thought someone copied my key. That was true. His eyes widened just slightly. He tried to hide it by smirking, but it looked wrong on him now. You wouldn't, he said. I lifted my eyebrows. Wouldn't I? He stared at me, and for the first time, I saw something like fear flicker behind his confidence. He reached into his jacket pocket slowly, like he was doing me a favor, and pulled out my spare key. He dropped it onto the table between us with a little clink like a challenge. There, he said. Happy? I picked it up calmly and slid it into my purse, my face still neutral. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. Thank you, I said. He scoffed again. You know what? Keep your key. Keep your wine drama. You're going to regret acting like this. People are going to hear about it. I nodded like that didn't scare me. Like I hadn't spent all weekend watching my reputation get twisted. He stood up, pushing his chair back loudly, and walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. I didn't chase him. I didn't cry in the cafe. I waited until I got home. Then I opened my my building email, because while Rhodes was busy threatening me, the office had replied with the hallway footage request, and attached to the email was something I didn't expect. A still image from the building camera, time-stamped late Saturday night, showing Rhodes at the front desk, leaning over, talking to the concierge. Under the image, the office wrote one sentence. He asked if we could make an extra copy of your key. My throat went tight. My skin went cold, because the wine wasn't a mistake. The key wasn't an accident. It was a plan. And now, I had proof he tried to turn my home into something he could access whenever he wanted. I sat on my couch, Luna curled against my leg, and I stared at the email until my hands stopped shaking. Then I opened the group chat and typed one simple message. Rhodes, please confirm in this chat why you asked the building to copy my key. Then I hit send, and I watched the typing bubbles appear. The bubbles vanished. For a long second, nothing happened in the chat, like the whole group held its breath without realizing it. Then Rhodes replied, "Are you serious right now?" That was it. No denial. No explanation. Just outrage, like my question was the crime. My pulse thudded in my ears, but I kept my hands steady. I had learned the hard way that if you match someone's volume, you lose the plot. So I didn't argue. I didn't call him names. I didn't say, "You're a liar." I simply attached the screenshot from the building email, the still image of him leaning over the concierge desk, the line underneath, "He asked if we could make an extra copy of your key." Then I wrote one sentence, calm and clean. "I changed the locks, and I'm asking you to reimburse the bottle you drank because you didn't ask." The chat stayed silent long enough that I could picture each person reading it, their faces shifting as the story flipped in real time. Someone reacted with a shocked face. Someone else typed and erased. Then Quinn replied, "Rhodes, why would you ask for a copy of her key?" Another friend, Serafina, wrote, "That's not normal." Rhodes started typing again. I watched the bubbles go on and on like he was building a whole speech. When the message finally landed, it was exactly what I expected. "Okay, everyone relax. I didn't ask to copy her key to be creepy. I asked because I was worried I'd lose it while taking care of her place. I was being responsible, and now she's trying to make me look like a villain over a bottle of wine she told me. I could have. Responsible." My stomach tightened. He was still trying to do it, still trying to shape the narrative, like if he used the right words, reality would bend for him. I could have written a paragraph, breaking down every lie. I could have exposed every detail, but I didn't. I asked one more small question. "Then why did you keep my spare key in your pocket when you left?" I attached the doorbell screenshot. His hand, the key, the pocket. Another pause. This time the silence felt heavier, like the group chat had turned into a courtroom, and he just realized the judge didn't like him. Rhodes replied fast, shorter now. "I told you, I forgot." I gave it back. I didn't correct him. I didn't say, "Only after I threatened to report you." I just wrote, "Yes, after I showed you the footage." Then I did something that made my hands finally stop shaking. I posted the receipt email for the wine. Not dramatic, just the purchase confirmation, the price, the name. Then I wrote, "I'm not debating what I meant by help yourself. A special bottle in someone's home is not a snack. I requested a partial reimbursement because I tried to keep it small." I didn't add insults. I didn't call him cheap. I didn't ask people to take sides. I let the proof sit there like a weight. That's when the chat started to change. Greer wrote, "Rhodes, you're wrong for this." Astrid wrote, "It's the key thing for me." That's scary. Someone else wrote, "Also, you had a guest at her place?" Without really asking. Rhodes tried to laugh it off again. He typed, "You all are acting like she's some fragile princess." I literally made sure her cat was fine. I felt my face heat up at the cat comment because even that was a manipulation. He kept bringing up Luna like a shield, like feeding an animal gave him permission to take whatever he wanted. I kept my response simple. "Please send the reimbursement tonight. If not, I'm done discussing it." Then I muted the chat. Not because I was scared of what they'd say, but because I needed to stop letting Rhodes control my nervous system. I stood up, walked to my front door, and flipped the deadbolt twice, just to hear it click. Then I sat on the floor and pulled Luna into my lap. She purred, pressing her forehead against my chin like she was reminding me I was still safe. My phone buzzed in my hand anyway. A direct message from Rhodes. "You're ruining my reputation over nothing." I stared at the screen, then typed a single word. "Okay." I didn't explain. I didn't defend. I didn't apologize. A minute later, another message popped up. "You know what? Fine. I'll pay your stupid wine money, but you're still a terrible host." I read that and felt something almost like relief. Not because he agreed with me, but because he confirmed what I already knew. He wasn't sorry. He was annoyed I had boundaries. I put my phone down and went to bed early, exhausted in that deep, bone-heavy way that comes from adrenaline and disappointment. The next morning, the locksmith came. New locks, new keys. Fresh metal that didn't carry someone else's fingerprints. The building office sent another follow-up email too, polite and careful. They apologized for even entertaining Rhodes's request, explained the concierge never actually made a copy, and assured me they had noted my unit in their system. No duplicates without written permission. No exceptions. That should have made me feel better, but I still felt violated because he tried. That night, Rhodes sent the money. He didn't send it with an apology. He sent it with a note. "Here, enjoy being dramatic." I didn't respond. I screenshotted it. Then I archived the chat. The next few days were strange. Friends who usually texted casually started checking in carefully, like they were approaching a skittish animal. A couple people said they were proud of me for standing up for myself. One person admitted Rhodes had a habit of pushing limits, but they never thought he'd go that far. Then 2 nights later, Quinn called me. I answered and could tell from their voice that something had happened. "Do you remember the woman he brought over?" Quinn asked. My stomach dropped again. "No, I didn't see her face clearly." Quinn exhaled. "I did. I recognized her from his socials." I sat down slowly on my couch. Quinn continued, "That was his girlfriend." My throat tightened. "He has a girlfriend?" "He does," Quinn said, "and she thinks he spent the weekend at a guy friend's place. Not yours." My skin went cold in a different way. Not fear this time. Disgust, because suddenly the cheap bottle made sense. The secrecy, the way she left alone, the way he tried to play it casual. He wasn't just using my apartment as a cozy hangout. He was using it as a cover story. Quinn's voice dropped, and Colette, she just posted a picture online last night. She's wearing a necklace. I swear it looks like yours. My heart jumped. I stood up and went straight to my bedroom dresser. I pulled open the top drawer where I keep little valuables, the things I don't want floating around. Old letters, a watch, a small velvet box. The box was open, and inside, the necklace was gone. It wasn't expensive like the wine. It was sentimental. A thin gold chain with a tiny charm my mom gave me when I graduated. Something I touched without thinking on hard days. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the empty velvet like it was an accusation. My hands shook again, but my mind stayed sharp. This wasn't misunderstanding. This wasn't guess logic. This was entitlement, dressed up as charm. I called the building office immediately and asked for the weekend. Footage from the lobby. Camera to be saved, all of it. I emailed myself the screenshots. I created a timeline. I wrote down what was missing. Then I texted Rhodes. Not emotional. Not angry. Just one line. Bring back the necklace you stole or I file a police report tonight. 3 minutes passed and my phone rang. Rhodes's name lit up the screen like a warning. I answered and he exploded immediately. What the hell are you talking about? He snapped. You are insane. I kept my voice calm. I know it's missing. And I know you had someone over. I'm not debating. Bring it back. You don't have proof, he hissed. I breathed in slowly, then said the truth that mattered. I have footage of you taking my key. I have the building email about you asking for a copy. I have your Venmo note admitting you drank the wine. And now I have a witness who recognized the woman you brought into my home. His silence on the other end was thick and ugly. Then, softer, he tried a different tactic. Colette, come on. Let's not do this. I can't believe you're going to blow up my life over some stupid jewelry. My stomach turned at the word stupid, like my memories were trash to him. I didn't argue. I gave him a deadline. Drop it with the concierge within 1 hour. If you don't, I file. He laughed nervously. You're bluffing. I didn't raise my voice. Okay. Then I hung up. Luna meowed from the hallway like she could sense the shift in the air. I waited. I did not pace. I did not cry. I cleaned my kitchen slowly, methodically, like I was preparing for something official. Within 40 minutes, my building office called. Hi, Colette, the woman said gently. There's an envelope here for you. I walked down barefoot, heart pounding, and the concierge handed me a plain white envelope with my name, written on it in Rhodes's handwriting. Inside was my necklace, tangled like it had been yanked off fast. No note, no apology, just the charm lying there like a confession. I went back upstairs and locked my door. Then I opened the group chat again, unmuted it, and typed one final message. Rhodes returned my missing jewelry after I told him I would file a report. I'm not discussing this further. Please don't share my address or keys with anyone. I'm done. Then I left the group, just like that. I didn't stay to watch reactions. I didn't stick around for apologies. I didn't need the room to clap for me. I needed peace. A week later, I heard through Quinn that Rhodes had tried to spin it again. He told people I was unstable. He told them I accused him of stealing when I misplaced things. He tried to paint me as paranoid, but it didn't work because the people who mattered had already seen the proof, and the people who still defended him, even after the key and the wine and the necklace, weren't people I wanted in my life anyway. 2 weeks after that, I got my promotion. I came home on a Friday night, kicked off my shoes, and opened my fridge. Inside was a new bottle of Barolo. Not the same vintage, not the same moment I originally planned, but a replacement I bought for myself with my first bigger paycheck. I set it on the counter and stared at it for a while, letting the quiet settle around me. Then I did something I didn't expect. I poured a single glass. I raised it to the empty room, and I smiled, not because I was over what happened, but because I wasn't the same woman who would have swallowed it and called it no big deal just to keep a friend. I took a sip and it tasted like boundaries. It tasted like control. It tasted like getting my life back without ever raising my voice. And later that night, when Luna curled up beside me, my phone buzzed with one last notification. A message request from a woman I didn't know. It was Rhodes's girlfriend. The only line she wrote was simple. Thank you. I found your necklace in his drawer and now I'm packing my bags. I stared at that message for a long time, then set my phone face down and reached for my glass again, because the only revenge I needed was knowing he finally lost access to every door he thought he could open. All he ever wanted was entry, and I made sure the last thing he got from me was a locked door and a receipt. Alright, real talk for a second. What people miss about situations like this is that the violation rarely starts with the big thing. It starts with a little boundary, a tiny favor, a casual sentence like help yourself, and then someone decides that your kindness means you don't deserve limits. And the scary part is how fast they try to train you. They don't just take, they take, then they watch your reaction. If you get upset, they call you dramatic. If you stay quiet, they call you weak. Either way, they want you doubting yourself so they can keep doing it. I used to think being calm meant being nice. Now I know being calm can be a weapon, because when you don't yell, you can see clearly. You can collect facts. You can move in a straight line. And if someone is used to talking their way out of consequences, silence scares them more than anger ever will. Because silence means you're not negotiating. You're deciding. So yeah, if you're ever in a situation where someone tries to turn your boundaries into a joke, don't beg them to understand. Don't chase the version of them that only exists when they want something. Just lock the door. Save the proof. Protect your peace. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment they realize they can't access you anymore.